Hello, esteemed gentlemen. The strangest thing about Sigma males is that they follow rules no one else can see, and still win. That's not poetry, that's psychology. Because according to behavioral studies, the average person makes 95% of their decisions automatically, driven by habit and social pressure. But Sigma males, they operate like they found the hidden settings menu of human behavior that the rest of the world didn't even know existed. While everyone else argues about trends, status, and validation, the Sigma male quietly plays a completely different game with a completely different rule book, one that's never printed, never taught, and never spoken out loud. These are the rules that shape how he thinks, how he distances himself, how he chooses people, and how he protects his peace like a priceless artifact. And the craziest part? Half the time, he doesn't even look like he's doing anything special. He looks like a man minding his business, then somehow ends up 3 levels ahead, leaving everyone confused, suspicious, and slightly irritated, like, how did he do that without even trying? Today, you're about to step into that hidden blueprint. Not the clichés, not the overused labels, but the actual secret principles that Sigma males live by, the ones powerful enough to shape their destiny and strange enough to make you laugh at how accurately they describe someone who never follows the crowd. Welcome to the rules you weren't supposed to notice, but won't be able to forget. Number 1, he treats time like a currency, paid only to high-return humans. A Sigma male sees time the way an investor sees money, limited, valuable, and too precious to waste on people who drain more than they give. This isn't arrogance, it's survival. He understands something most people never realize. Every conversation, every relationship, every casual hangout charges an invisible fee. Some people add clarity, growth, and calm. Others bring confusion, drama, and emotional noise. And a Sigma refuses to pay for noise. He watches how people use their own time before he gives them any of his. If someone lives in chaos, he knows they'll eventually drag him into it. If someone runs from self-awareness, he knows he'll end up doing the emotional heavy lifting. And he has no interest in being the unpaid therapist, the accidental babysitter, or the convenient emotional storage unit. To him, that's like pouring money into a bucket full of holes. The funny part is that he doesn't even announce when he's done with someone. There's no speech, no dramatic exit, no long emotional essay. He simply decreases the investment until it hits 0. Fewer replies, less access, shorter conversations. Eventually, the person realizes they've been phased out, not out of anger, but because they offered no return. It's a quiet exit that hits harder than any confrontation. When he meets someone who brings value, not material value, but emotional clarity, honest intentions, steady energy, he gives them his full presence. Those rare people make time feel lighter, not heavier. They multiply his peace instead of subtracting from it. They match his pace instead of slowing him down. And when he finds such people, he sticks with them because they help him grow instead of forcing him to shrink. At the end of the day, the Sigma male measures relationships the same way he measures goals, by whether they elevate his life or quietly suffocate it. And once he learns someone is draining him, he simply stops paying the price. Number 2, he doesn't fear being misunderstood. He engineers it. A Sigma male knows that being fully understood by the wrong people is a liability. The more others think they've figured him out, the easier it becomes for them to predict, manipulate, or control his moves. So instead of trying to correct every assumption or explain every decision, he allows people to misunderstand him. And in many cases, he quietly encourages it. Not out of pettiness, but out of strategy. He learned early that most people don't want to understand him anyway. They want to categorize him. They want easy labels, quick conclusions, and simple stories that fit their limited worldview. And since he doesn't operate on those shallow levels, he lets them believe whatever version of him helps keep them at a safe distance. If someone calls him quiet, cold, mysterious, aloof, he doesn't correct them. He lets them sit with their assumptions while he keeps the truth to himself. This approach protects him from emotional intrusions. People who misunderstand him can't tailor their behavior to exploit his weaknesses, because they don't actually know what he cares about. They can't guilt-trip him because they don't know what motivates him. They can't provoke him because they don't know what gets under his skin. By staying unreadable, he stays unmanipulated. And ironically, this confusion creates a natural filter. People who want easy access give up quickly. People who want drama get bored and leave. Only those with patience, depth, and genuine intentions stick around long enough to know the real him. In this way, misunderstanding becomes a screening tool, an invisible test he never has to announce. The beauty of this rule is that it gives him a level of freedom few people ever experience. He doesn't need to defend himself. He doesn't need to perform. He doesn't need to be the version of himself others expect. By engineering misunderstanding, he protects his peace, guards his identity, and ensures that only the right people ever get close enough to understand the truth. He hides behind the silence. Number 3, he believes every connection has an expiration date. A Sigma male approaches relationships with a quiet, almost surgical understanding. Nothing lasts forever, and that's not a tragedy. It's reality. He doesn't cling, overcommit, or try to force permanence where it doesn't belong. Every connection, whether personal or professional, is treated like a project with a timeline. Some people are meant to walk with him for years, others for months, and some only for a fleeting moment. Recognizing this early prevents emotional debt, disappointment, and wasted energy. He watches for the subtle signs that a connection is reaching its natural endpoint. Conversations become shallow, energy starts to drain instead of build, and patterns of neglect or toxicity emerge. He doesn't ignore these signs, and he doesn't rationalize them away. Instead, he acknowledges the inevitable and starts detaching quietly. This detachment isn't cold, it's deliberate. By accepting that people evolve at different rates, he preserves his stability and growth while allowing the other person their own trajectory. The Sigma male also knows that forcing permanence creates invisible chains. People resist when you try to hold them beyond their natural duration, and attachment without alignment only leads to frustration. By treating relationships as temporary by design, he stays flexible, adaptable, and above all, free. He can invest fully without fear of losing himself because he knows every connection has its natural cycle. This approach also gives him clarity in choosing who deserves his energy. He invests in those who multiply his life, who add depth, insight, and balance. The rest are quietly phased out, without drama or confrontation, simply because they have served their purpose. There's a certain elegance in this method, a recognition that value isn't measured in permanence, but in impact. For a Sigma male, life is a series of connections, each with a beginning and an end. Accepting this truth doesn't make him cold, it makes him unstoppable. He remains unshaken because he knows that letting go isn't failure. It's a natural part of evolution, a necessary pruning that keeps his world aligned with growth, purpose, and unshakable peace. Number 4, he is loyal only to patterns, not promises. A Sigma male doesn't get impressed by words, speeches, or grand declarations. Promises are easy to make and easy to break, but patterns, the repeated actions someone takes over time, reveal the real truth. He watches carefully, sometimes silently, noticing how someone behaves when there's no audience, no reward, no pressure. That's where authenticity shows up, and that's where loyalty is earned. If someone consistently shows up, keeps their word through small actions, and respects boundaries without needing reminders, a sigma takes notice. That consistency becomes a quiet contract that earns his trust. But the moment someone's actions start deviating, even slightly, it sends an alarm. Broken patterns are not just mistakes. To him, they are indicators of hidden unreliability, hidden agendas, or a lack of respect. A single broken action can outweigh months of promises because patterns, not words, reveal intent. This approach makes him almost immune to manipulation. Flattery, grand gestures, or excuses mean nothing. Only the repeated behavior, day after day, matters. He measures loyalty by observable evidence, not hope or expectation. This is why people often underestimate him. He appears calm, detached, or indifferent, but underneath, he is constantly calibrating, noting, and categorizing based on patterns. It also means that relationships, whether friendship, romantic, or professional, are built on rock-solid reliability rather than rhetoric. A Sigma's loyalty is earned slowly, but is unshakable once given, because it is grounded in reality, not wishful thinking. Conversely, betrayal is almost instantaneous, one broken pattern, and he begins recalibrating, distancing, or completely disengaging without drama or speeches. For a Sigma male, life is predictable only when patterns are respected. Words are cheap, promises are fleeting, but patterns are truth, and truth is the only currency he invests his loyalty in. Number 5. He doesn't demand respect. He designs environments where disrespect can't survive. A Sigma male doesn't waste energy begging for respect or reminding people to treat him properly. He understands that respect isn't given by force. It's created by the environment you cultivate around yourself. He carefully engineers every aspect of his life, his behavior, his habits, his presence, so that disrespect naturally becomes impossible or uncomfortable. People who might test boundaries elsewhere quickly realize there's no leverage with him. He approaches this with subtlety. It's not about intimidation or theatrics, it's about consistency and strategic presence. The way he carries himself, the tone he uses, the choices he makes, all communicate that disrespect is futile. Even in silence, his posture, actions, and confidence send signals that set clear boundaries without confrontation. Disrespect can't survive because the environment itself, the energy, the rules, and the invisible architecture of his life doesn't allow it to thrive. He also curates the people around him with the same precision. Toxicity, manipulation, and unnecessary drama are systematically filtered out. Anyone who might attempt to undermine him finds themselves naturally marginalized, not through arguments or fights, but simply because the space he occupies favors integrity, intelligence, and genuine engagement. The Sigma male doesn't react to disrespect. He prevents it by structuring his world so that the cost of disrespect is too high to bear. This approach gives him freedom most people never experience. He never needs to negotiate respect or prove himself. It exists as a byproduct of his actions and environment. While others expend energy enforcing rules or defending themselves, he operates above the fray, unaffected and unbothered. Respect becomes a natural response to his presence, not a transaction he must demand or defend. For a Sigma male, the lesson is clear. True power lies not in demanding respect, but in building a life where disrespect simply cannot survive. And when you live like that, you don't just gain respect. You command it silently, effortlessly, and permanently. Number 6. He never argues. He just starts rebuilding without you. A Sigma male doesn't argue, not because he can't, but because he sees arguments as wasted energy. Words are fleeting, and most disputes are a tug-of-war that achieves nothing. Instead of trying to convince someone who refuses to understand, he quietly changes the variables in his own life, so the argument becomes irrelevant. While others are stuck in endless debates, he's already moving forward, creating new structures, opportunities, and realities that no longer require their approval, agreement, or presence. He understands that trying to force perspective is like pouring water into a leaky bucket. People who are unwilling to see clearly will only frustrate him, slow him down, or drain his energy. So he doesn't fight them. He rebuilds without them. This doesn't happen with fanfare or dramatics. It's quiet, precise, and effective. He adapts his environment, his relationships, his routines, and even his mindset so that the old conflict becomes meaningless. Sometimes, this process leaves the other person behind, not through malice, but through inevitability. Their influence, negativity, or resistance becomes irrelevant because he has constructed a reality where they no longer hold weight. They may notice the absence, the shift, or the distance, but by then it's too late. The Sigma male has already moved beyond the need for validation or debate. This approach makes him almost untouchable in conflict. He doesn't escalate, argue, or explain himself endlessly. Instead, he focuses on what he can control, his own life, choices, and progress. By doing so, he ensures that wasted energy is minimized, growth is maximized, and the people who refuse to align with him simply fall away. For a Sigma male, life is too short for arguments that go nowhere. He doesn't fight, he builds, he doesn't plead, he restructures. And in the process, he silently turns those who oppose him into bystanders in a world he continues to shape on his own terms. Number 7. He studies people's insecurities. The way investors study market volatility. A Sigma male pays attention to the cracks in people's armor, not to manipulate them, but to understand the potential risks they carry into his life. Just like an investor watches market fluctuations to predict turbulence, he observes insecurities, reactions, and behavioral patterns to anticipate who might bring unnecessary chaos, drama, or emotional instability into his world. This isn't paranoia, it's foresight. He knows that energy is finite, and people with hidden volatility can quietly drain it if unchecked. He notices the subtle cues: hesitation, overcompensation, neediness, or defensiveness. These aren't flaws to mock or exploit. They're early warning signals. By paying attention, he can determine who will contribute positively and who will disrupt balance. Unlike most people who overlook these signs until it's too late, the Sigma male internalizes them, filing away observations like data points in a mental spreadsheet. Over time, these insights become a predictive map of relationships, partnerships, and social interactions. What makes this particularly powerful is that he never confronts or points out these insecurities. His method is silent, almost invisible. People reveal themselves through their behavior without realizing they're being analyzed. He uses this information to make decisions about trust, distance, and engagement, ensuring that he never invests emotional energy where the return is unpredictable or dangerous. This approach keeps his life remarkably stable, even in the midst of chaos. He doesn't rely on luck or blind hope. He relies on patterns and probabilities. And because he studies without judgment, he can maintain clarity and objectivity, seeing others exactly as they are, not as he wishes them to be. For a Sigma male, understanding insecurities isn't about control or cruelty. It's about survival, efficiency, and foresight. By recognizing potential risks before they manifest, he keeps his life aligned with growth and stability, minimizing unnecessary chaos while maximizing meaningful connections. Number 8. He builds escape ladders. Inside every relationship. A Sigma male never allows himself to be trapped emotionally, no matter how deep a connection grows. He understands that closeness, trust, and attachment are powerful, but they can also be dangerous if mismanaged. So even in the most intimate relationships, he quietly constructs what can be called an escape ladder, a hidden plan, a mental strategy, or an emotional exit route that ensures he can protect himself if things turn toxic or suffocating. This isn't about mistrust or cynicism. It's about self-preservation. He doesn't cling to the illusion that every relationship will be perfect. People change, circumstances shift, and intentions sometimes reveal themselves too late. By having an exit strategy, he removes the element of vulnerability that others often exploit without even thinking. It's a safeguard that allows him to give fully without losing himself. These escape ladders can be subtle. It might be keeping certain emotional boundaries, maintaining personal habits and routines, or even nurturing independence within himself that no one else can touch. He ensures that no matter how much he invests, there's always a layer of protection that preserves his peace, autonomy, and sanity. What makes this extraordinary is the elegance of it. He doesn't make threats, he doesn't manipulate, and he doesn't create drama. The ladder exists quietly in the background, unseen by anyone else, while he continues to engage naturally, fully, and genuinely. And if a situation ever turns harmful, the ladder is there, a way out that is clean, controlled, and free of unnecessary confrontation. For a Sigma male, this approach transforms relationships from potential prisons into arenas of growth, connection, and learning. He participates deeply, but never recklessly. He gives without surrendering, loves without losing himself, and trusts without blind attachment. The escape ladder is the ultimate demonstration of his independence. He can be present, engaged, and committed, yet remain untouchable in a way few people even recognize. Number 9, he refuses instant gratification because he sees it as psychological debt. A Sigma male doesn't chase fleeting pleasures or succumb to impulses the way most people do. He understands that every instant reward carries hidden costs, not necessarily financial, but psychological. A quick indulgence often comes with strings attached, obligations unspoken, or expectations disguised as kindness. To him, chasing the immediate high is like signing an invisible contract that someone else can later enforce. He approaches life strategically. If a decision or pleasure doesn't align with his long-term vision or sense of freedom, he refuses it, even if it's tempting. That delayed satisfaction isn't self-denial, it's mastery. Every restraint strengthens his autonomy and ensures that he remains untouchable to manipulation. Others might think he's cold, cautious, or detached, but he sees it as a form of protection. The small sacrifices now prevent larger entanglements later. This rule extends beyond material things. It applies to attention, approval, and even relationships. He won't give someone his time or affection just to satisfy a fleeting emotional need, because he knows that doing so creates debt, emotional leverage that can be exploited later. By refusing to hand over quick wins, he maintains control over his own mind and life, ensuring that no one can manipulate his desires or pressures him into actions he doesn't truly want. In essence, he lives in a space where patience isn't just a virtue, it's a shield. Instant gratification is seductive because it feels like freedom, but he knows it often comes disguised as a trap. By resisting, he preserves his independence and keeps his energy for what truly matters. Every choice becomes a deliberate act, every pleasure a conscious decision rather than a knee-jerk reaction. For a Sigma male, life is about calculated freedom. Refusing instant gratification isn't denial, it's empowerment. It's refusing to let invisible chains dictate his actions and ensuring that he remains the master of his own mind, time, and destiny. Number 10. He changes his identity like software updates. A Sigma male doesn't settle for gradual, predictable change. When he recognizes that parts of himself, habits, beliefs, or patterns have become outdated, ineffective, or limiting, he doesn't tweak them. He overhauls them completely. He approaches self-evolution like a software update, deliberate, comprehensive, and sometimes disruptive. Old versions of himself are replaced without hesitation, leaving behind behaviors and mindsets that no longer serve his growth or freedom. This isn't reinvention for attention or approval. It's pure functionality. Just as outdated software slows a system and opens it to vulnerabilities, clinging to outdated versions of himself would make him inefficient, predictable, or vulnerable to manipulation. By updating his identity fully, he ensures that he remains unpredictable, self-sufficient, and aligned with his goals. Each overhaul is precise, a recalibration of his values, habits, and even social interactions to match the person he's becoming, not the one he used to be. What makes this rule extraordinary is the speed and decisiveness of it. Many people evolve passively, waiting for life to force change. A Sigma male doesn't wait. He sees stagnation as a threat, and when he identifies a misalignment, he acts immediately, often in ways that leave others stunned. Relationships, routines, and social circles might shift overnight because he is not afraid to abandon what no longer fits. He also keeps the internal aspect private. Few people witness his full transformation because he doesn't announce it or seek validation. The external world might notice subtle differences, but the true updates occur internally, in his mindset, perception, and understanding of the world. For a Sigma male, identity is not fixed. It's modular, flexible, and intentionally designed. He doesn't just grow, he upgrades, optimizes, and reinvents himself on his own terms. And in doing so, he ensures that he is always moving forward, always improving, and always one step beyond what anyone else expects or can predict. Number 11. He doesn't chase privacy. He uses confusion as his shield. A Sigma male doesn't simply hide to protect his life. He manipulates perception itself. True privacy to him isn't about staying unseen. It's about being impossible to fully understand. He layers contradictions into his words, actions, and presence, ensuring that anyone trying to read him is met with uncertainty at every turn. Predictability is a liability, and confusion becomes his most effective shield. He operates in ways that make sense only to himself. A casual observer might see inconsistency, mystery, or even aloofness, but beneath it lies meticulous control. By keeping people guessing, he forces them to expend energy trying to understand him, often misinterpreting his intentions entirely. This misalignment protects him from manipulation, interference, or exploitation. No one can leverage what they cannot comprehend. This strategy also grants freedom. Unlike those who constantly monitor themselves to meet expectations, a Sigma male moves authentically while remaining unreadable. He doesn't have to explain, justify, or adjust his behavior for others. Confusion becomes a barrier that filters out unnecessary engagement while leaving the door open for those who genuinely matter. The brilliance of this approach is subtle. He rarely appears calculated, yet every contradiction is intentional. Silence, sporadic openness, selective vulnerability, and sudden decisiveness all work together to create a persona that cannot be pinned down. People may try, but they rarely succeed. And that's the point. His shield doesn't repel entirely. It simply makes intrusion costly, difficult, and often futile. For a Sigma male, confusion isn't chaos. It's a tool. It preserves his autonomy, protects his mind, and ensures that his world remains on his terms. While others scramble to maintain appearances or defend themselves, he exists beyond their comprehension, untouchable, unmanipulated, and quietly in control. In a world obsessed with decoding and controlling others, he thrives in the space of calculated mystery. Number 12. He gives people enough freedom to reveal their core. A Sigma, male understands that true character isn't shown under pressure or in controlled situations. It's revealed in freedom. He doesn't try to corner people, manipulate them, or enforce rules to test them. Instead, he gives them space, observing how they behave when no one is watching, when there's no reward or consequence, and when they feel unmonitored. This is where authenticity emerges, and where he learns exactly who is trustworthy, who adds value, and who is best kept at a distance. He doesn't need confessions or promises. Actions speak louder than words. By allowing people freedom, he forces them to reveal themselves without realizing it. Their habits, priorities, reactions to minor inconveniences, and casual behaviors become data points in his assessment. Those who act with integrity, consistency, and respect earn deeper access to his world. Those who show selfishness, deceit, or chaos are quietly filtered out without confrontation or drama. This approach requires patience and discipline. He doesn't rush judgment or react impulsively. He understands that people are constantly performing to some degree. It's only when they feel unobserved that the truth comes out. By creating an environment of subtle observation rather than direct control, he sees people clearly, without the distortions of ego, manipulation, or superficiality. Giving freedom is also a demonstration of confidence. He doesn't need to trap anyone emotionally or socially. He trusts himself enough to let others reveal their intentions naturally. This way, relationships are built on honesty, alignment, and mutual respect, rather than coercion, appearances, or fear. For a Sigma male, the value of a connection is determined not by what someone says, but by what they show when they think no one is watching. By giving space and observing quietly, he ensures that only the people who truly deserve his time, energy, and trust ever gain meaningful access to his life. Conclusion. The hidden rules of Sigma males are not tricks, slogans, or empty philosophies. They are a blueprint for living on a completely different wavelength, one where independence, foresight, and strategic detachment are not just habits, but a way of life. Each rule is a tool to protect their energy, preserve their freedom, and navigate a world that thrives on conformity, distraction, and manipulation. From observing patterns rather than trusting promises, to building invisible escape ladders in every relationship, to turning confusion into an unbreakable shield, these principles are designed to give a Sigma male control without force, influence without compromise, and peace without surrender. What makes these rules extraordinary is how quietly they operate. Sigma males rarely announce their methods, rarely seek validation, and rarely play by anyone else's script. They are masters of subtlety, architects of their own lives, and curators of relationships that truly matter. Every decision, every boundary, every action is intentional, a reflection of deep awareness, strategic patience, and unwavering self-respect. They thrive in spaces others find uncomfortable, and they grow in ways that are invisible to the untrained eye. Understanding these hidden rules isn't just about recognizing the Sigma male, it's about seeing a different approach to life itself, one that values autonomy over approval, clarity over chaos, and mastery over manipulation. It challenges conventional thinking, exposes the flaws in shallow social constructs, and demonstrates that true power is quiet, deliberate, and uncompromising. If this breakdown of Sigma male principles resonated with you, gave you insight, or even made you rethink how you interact with people around you, make sure to stay connected. Subscribe to the channel for more content that dives deep into hidden truths. Like this video to support the channel. Comment below to share your thoughts or experiences, and share it with someone who needs to see the power of these unseen rules. This isn't just knowledge. It's a roadmap to understanding a rare mindset and unlocking a level of awareness that few will ever truly grasp.